My goodness. Apparently my video was not there. Some people were saying, I hope you join me again. I'm talking about whether you're going to amputate or whether you're going to draw the boundary. And I'm going to start again. Thanks, Julia. Come back, everybody. Come back. I don't know what happened, but a little Mercury retrograde happened. So if you could share the video so that people can join me again, that would be awesome, because I feel like this is important information. So let's go back to what I was talking about, and I'm going to start again. So I feel that there is a real opportunity missed when we're talking about when you're in a relationships are hard, and there's all kinds of conflict that can occur. And let me be clear that amputation is an option in the menu. However, what I feel is that relationships are filled with opportunities for growth. And so when you are talking about someone is, toxic in a way that is violent, in a way that they're addicted and stealing from you, in a way that they're volatile and your space is at risk, these are people to definitely amputate. I agree. My sadness or my concern is when people simply wholesale amputate because people didn't do what you wanted them to do. And when you when you cut someone out wholesale because they disappointed you, I feel that there is a missing of an opportunity to really work on your communication, your boundary setting skills, possibly working on being uncomfortable, possibly working in high preciosa. Hi, Dana. Hi, Julia. I hope people come back. I had to restart the video. Oh, that's great that you guys are watching together. That's awesome. So when we talk about relationships, one of the things that I feel that is so important is that there's this opportunity for practicing communication, practicing a way of communicating that is, from the outset, clear about who you are, what you need, what you don't need, because you have a compass in you. And that compass, if you can imagine a compass that is always going to say yes or no, and you need to be in touch with yourself, with your yes and your no. And the no doesn't mean that you cut them out. The saddest thing I see is people saying, well, this person didn't do what I needed them to do, or they disappointed me, or they let me down, and therefore I'm going to cut them out. I feel that that is not a good reason to cut someone out. The truth is that you might feel pain and disappointment with that person, and you may need to create some distance. But I feel that that's an opportunity to say to this person what you feel, and sometimes when you draw a boundary, when you say what you feel, when you say no, when you say, this bothered me, this didn't work for me, whatever, what you're going to bring on is other people's anger or emotion, and sometimes that's going to create guilt, sadness, fear, all of the emotions in the spectrum. But I feel that these are opportunities to work on yourself so you can grow. And I'm not saying that you need to have the same closeness as you had before. No, in my first book, Find Your Self-Culture, I talk about in friendships, which can apply to a variety of relationships, categorizing your friends. Good morning. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. Categorizing your friends so that, for example, you might have your A friends, your very, very, very incredibly, life and death people, and those people have sort of proven themselves over the years, and you've proven yourself over the years to be someone that you can trust, where you really create a sense of belonging with one another, where you're there for each other's life events, but possibly you have a B group that is not as close, so maybe they have demonstrated that you can't trust them as much, or perhaps they're amazingly wonderful confidants, but they're always late, and so you're like, I just can't trust, but you don't amputate. The point is that amputations should be reserved for the very, very toxic, not just because you felt disappointed, or because they didn't do what you want, or because in some way they were not of the same energy. I feel like we have like a graveyard of friends that I see people with a graveyard of people they no longer speak to, and then what we have is, you know, at the end of their lives, they're an island, and they haven't worked that muscle, that real muscle. I'm glad you guys are back, Armando. I'm glad you came back. They have not worked that muscle of how to cope with setting a boundary, saying no, saying what doesn't work for them, you know, teaching people how to treat you, having discussions that might be uncomfortable. And people are avoiding that constantly. And, you know, I have to say, we all go through these types of things. I'm just going to have some water. But I think, you know, our compass that says no sometimes may not be never again. Might just be no for now. I need some space to regroup so I can come back to the situation. Now remember, if you're coming back to the situation and the person is a volatile person and has a history of volatility, I agree. That becomes the domain of, yeah, I don't think I can, because volatility creates tremendous nervous system stress for everybody. And you can't really know what your true compass yes or no is if there's a lot of volatility in the relationship, because it's stressful, and stress, much like I was describing in my first video when the internet connection went out, I'm sort of surrounded by some fog. It fogs up the brain. Thanks, Yutushka, for joining again. I know that there was problems with the internet, but I'll post the video again so you can see it in its entirety. But much like the fog that's in, you know, that I can't see any view on the 20th floor, that's what stress will do. Christine says, I gotta put the glass. Morning, Victoria, these chats are so spot on for where I am right now. Thanks, Christine. I'm so pleased. But the stressor of a relationship that would be, you know, extremely volatile would fog your ability to say yes or no. Setting boundaries is courageous, offers authentic self to your relationship. It's taken me years to learn. You know what, Lynn? It's taken all of us years to learn. And I have to say, even though I teach that, I shake in my boots when I have to draw a firm boundary. You know, as a practitioner, a psychotherapist, with my clients, it's like I am so clear. I have my cancellation policy. I have, you know, where they need to wait in the hallway. If you're a phone client, you would know that. If you're a live client, you know where you need to wait in the hallway. My boundaries are super clear. But in friendships and in relationships, you know, I too, the reason I teach all this stuff is because I've got to keep learning it. I've been doing this 25 plus years, but it's all about learning from what I teach and what I research, and I'm an avid researcher. But I shake in my boots when I have to draw a boundary, say, you know, I didn't really like how you spoke to me, you know, of my sister or of a friend of mine. There is a profound, I think, universal fear of abandonment. And I think that people, you know, especially if people have gone through stuff in their early lives, we have this fear of not belonging and of being cut out. And so we would just rather amputate and not have to deal with that pain. I would rather you work and troubleshoot that pain. Work and troubleshoot that pain so you're not just wholesale cutting people out because you're afraid. And I know that's not easy. I know that's not easy. But what I'm here to tell you is that if you work that muscle like you work out in the gym, the muscle of being uncomfortable when you're declaring who you are, living your self-culture in a relationship, you're going to find it much more profound as you journey through your life in your relationships. And let me say that this takes practice. You know, I admit, and so many people admit, that it's much easier initially to just cut people out. But the truth of the matter is that down the way it becomes much harder. Much, much harder. It's a short-term gain for long-term pain, is what I really want to say. Yeah, Lynn, it's living your self-culture, exactly. You know, the short-term pain, the short-term gain is, I get to be free of this person. The long-term pain is I didn't get to practice anything. I didn't get to practice being my true self in this relationship. I lived from fear. I operated from a place of fear of, you know, just overprotection. And what does Yutushka say? They say that people that are upset when you set boundaries are the ones that are breaking them. So true. Well, but you know what the truth is that everybody feels upset. Hello, cousin from Israel. I'm so glad you're here. And hi, Dabor. Everyone feels a twinge of, oh, you didn't like what I did? Like, everyone feels that. So, and I also want to tell you, it is so refreshing when I hear someone say no to me, because that means that we have a freedom to say no to each other. And let me be honest as well, even when I'm in a very good relationship with a good friend who says no to me and I say no to them, there is a twinge of, oh, I feel a little bit of a something. It's sticky-ish. But we talk about it because we have that kind of a friendship that says, you know, when you said no, I'm so glad you did, but I did feel a little bit hurt. And she's like, I know, but it's okay because we're good friends and we just need to give each other the freedom to say no to one another. Oh my God, I want everyone to cultivate that kind of a friendship. It is so profound. And I like people to, at the outset, when they're developing friendships, talk about these concepts. Talk about how we're going to navigate conflict before the conflict occurs, when you're in a happy place. And ask yourselves, how do we do conflict? Do we do conflict through passive-aggressive digs, or do we do conflict through full-scale amputation? You know, these are important conversations to be having in friendships and in relationships generally. And if you find that they're like totally blockading you, you're going to know that you're not going to have them so close. You may have them a little farther away, but not amputated. Still there to practice. Still there to practice. Because we as souls, as humans, are best served with people around us. You know, I was watching Shrek the other day. Who's watched Shrek? And Shrek has a scene with a donkey where he's like, you know, what are we going to do? You know, Donkey says to Shrek, what are we going to do once we, you know, save the princess and get out of this situation? And he says, Shrek says, we're not doing anything, Donkey. I'm doing it all. And not only am I doing it all, but I'm going to build a wall around me because nobody likes me. And I am going to block everybody out. And I'm just going to have this wall, this 10-foot wall around me, says Shrek. And Donkey's like, what the hell are you so afraid of? And he's like, I'm not afraid of anyone. People are the ones that don't like me. And people, I'm going to just protect myself. Well, listen to me. What does Yutushka say? We're always learning because life is always teaching us. Exactly. Listen to me. Overprotection, 10-foot walls don't work. In fact, they cause a person to literally atrophy. I love that word. Atrophy, not develop the muscle of the difficult task of interrelationship. Relationship culture building, which the best relationship cultures exist when you have a healthy self-culture in which you are expressing yourself authentically. And I know that that's not easy. What does Christine Carr say? How toxic does it have to be before you cut someone out, amputate, especially if that someone is the only immediate family member alive from your core family? Yep. Oh man, Christine, let me just say this. I feel for anyone who's having that experience, and it's such a common experience. Listen, here's the line I personally draw and what I feel people need to draw. If the person is violent, volatile, invasive, as in stealing from you physically, and also impossible to have any kind of reasonable anything, in other words, they're violent and all volatile, you need distance. But wholesale amputation, even of that person, Dana says, now I know why I'm so attracted to becoming a hermit. Yes, Dana, but listen, and I'm going to answer that question. I want to answer all these questions. Okay, yes, family is the hardest. Being a hermit, I believe, is not a good answer because I feel we atrophy our ability to practice our growth. But I really feel like addiction, where it's invading you and stealing from you and violent towards you, full amputation, no questions asked. But even difficult personalities, I feel, like narcissistic personalities and borderline personalities, you don't keep them close. You don't visit them every day. You don't speak to them every day. You don't even speak to them every week. You possibly create a new normal of once a month checking in with that elderly person, possibly. You know, remember, it's also how you're going to feel, you know. If you're amputating an elderly parent because they're, you know, impossible, try and create a new normal in which it's not so harmful to you. But I feel wholesale amputation of people is the domain of very, very violent, very toxic, very volatile. I hope that helps, because I'm pretty stringent about that. I don't feel that amputation is the best, even for difficult people. I feel like what you need to do is you need to, if they're stealing, Yutushka, zero tolerance for violence and stealing. Gone, poof, be gone, exactly. But if they're just like a complicated narcissistic personality, you got to work some patterns of how to deal with that, but at a distance. Distance, good amounts of distance, disciplined distance. I have a good video on YouTube on my channel, Ask Victoria. It got 100,000 views plus. It's narcissistic parent collateral damage. Check it out. I really lay it out on how to handle that. But it's really about creating a new discipline normal with that family member that has nothing to do with daily or weekly or you being the slave or the victim of this person. Period. None of what I'm saying involves that. I hope people understand that. You know, I hope people really understand that when you're in a relationship, Dana, I'm going to read this. Because of your teaching and work, I've just invited my mother to Easter dinner after not speaking to her for over a year. Oh, Dana. Okay, now. But I want you to be boundaried about it. Did you set a few rules before she came over? Be boundaried about it, Dana, okay? Did you set a few rules? Because, you know, these are important things. Don't put yourself in the bag of snakes without some clear anti-venom, antidotes here, you know? So read my book thoroughly so that you go in with some clear boundaries, okay? My gosh, isn't this a great topic that we could go on and on with? So, how's everybody feeling about Easter coming up? And so Dana's going to have it interesting. You're going to have to tell us how it all went. Join my group. You're being boundaried yourself. Okay, cool. Well, be really clear about that. And, you know, no is a fine answer. And it's definitely harder with family members. I agree. And one of your families has put our family through this. And family keeps enabling, making me feel bad for protecting myself, but it's family. Listen to me. Listen to me. People have these notions about it's family and they feel guilty. No. Really conquer your guilt. Really work on your guilt. Work on your guilt because it's false guilt. Drawing a boundary, saying no, being, allowing yourself to, hi Mike, nice to see you from Greece, allowing yourself discipline distance, Preciosa. Allowing yourself to be self-protective without amputating. Allowing yourself to do only what is comfortable for you. It doesn't matter what other people say that you should or shouldn't do. Don't allow that guilt and that shaming to influence because you need your compass. You need your compass to say yes or no, and that compass is only going to be working if you are not stressed. And so you got to self-care to be less stressed. So that's important. So, yeah, Yutushka, good. I'm glad because guilt really doesn't work. Now, let me be clear. Healthy guilt, if you've done something wrong to harm someone, that's a different story. But I don't feel that just wholesale guilt because I need to take care of myself is a good idea. I think it's toxic and it's destructive. And resentment, guilt, shame, that's like taking poison, essentially. And resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. That's an interesting concept. But guilt and shame are like poison. So make sure that you work with yourself deeply and understand, what do I need in this moment? Compass. What's important to me right now? How do I feel in this moment? And that means I need people to leave at 10 o'clock. No matter what, people need to be out of my home by 10 o'clock kind of thing. Or, no, you know what? What's really important to me is that I have the domain of the kitchen and they clean up. What's really important to me is that people bring a vegetable and I'll cook the meat. Do you know what I mean? These kinds of things. What's really important to me is I'm not going to serve too much wine because I don't want things to get out of control. Being discerning, being boundaried, as opposed to wholesale, they're out of here, they're out of here, they're out of here. Lynn, says, I'm a natural connector. I relate to and include people in my life. No longer feel guilty for certain family relationships I have removed. Feel free to live my life on my own terms. Well, hallelujah. I love that. And hi, Sheila. Thank you for joining us. So, I mean, you are obviously living your self-culture. And living your self-culture means probably that your relational culture is healthier. and which will then impact the family culture, which then impacts the multi-generations, which is what gets me up in the morning, everybody. All right. I'm just going to pause at this moment. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to repost the video everywhere, and I would like you to share this everywhere because Easter is coming up and family's going to get together. And please join my group, Positive Self-Culture, Relationship Culture, and Family Culture, because we are here to support each other. Lynn says, I have so many beautiful relationships now. Exactly, because you've done the work and you continue to do the work. And let me tell you this before I go. Join my group so that we can share with each other, create community, and keep building and protecting our self-culture, having healthy relationship culture and family culture. I just want to say this. Sometimes we want to only have positive, simpatico agreement relationships. Just understand that we sometimes learn more from the difficult relationships, but there's a fine line allowing those difficult relationships to overtake us without boundaries. So it's all about balance, okay? Number 2, hop over to visualizationworks.com. You know that's my website because visualization does work. Visualization works. And if you have an interest in my books, and a few of you are already reading my books, Find Your Self-Culture, Moving from Depression and Anxiety to Monumental Self-Acceptance. Thank you, Preciosa. A repeat to watch for sure for encouragement and enforcement. Thanks, Victoria. Obrigada, Preciosa. I'm so happy to know you, fellow Portuguese girl. And then my second book is Connecting, Rewire Your Relationship Culture. And these 2 books are passion projects, but they're also really full of my work. 25 years, so please pick them up if that is resonant for you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. It's called Ask Victoria. And I'm not coming to you live tomorrow, but I'll be back on Monday. And let me know some topics you want me to juicy dig into. Hop over to my group, Positive Self-Culture, Relationship Culture, Family Culture, and let me know some of your strife and some of the things you're struggling with, and I'll do a video about it. Okay, sweet loves? Mwah. I just adore everyone for checking in. And Yatushka, love your posts. Really, they're really helping people deal with life experiences, definitely sharing. Thank you so much. Have a good Easter and a Passover. I'm half Jewish, half Catholic, so we kind of do it all. So have a beautiful, beautiful Easter time. And I just consider it, family time. And some people find it really difficult. So if you're on your own, rejoice also, because that's a power place to be in too. Love you. Adios.